Hello again, I'm Brett Newton. I'm a composer, orchestrator, and author, and I'm here with another video in my series on great works for wind band. Now, in the last video, we talked about Kevin Day's Concerto for Wind Ensemble, and we talked about how sometimes for a piece to be considered great, it has to stand the test of time. And Kevin's piece is only a couple years old. Well, in this video, I want to wind the clock all the way back to the earliest piece we can talk about. That is Giovanni Gabrielli's Sonata Pian e Forte. The sonata loud, or soft and loud. Pian, soft, forte, loud. Now, this raises a fundamental question. What is a wind band? Well, by our broadest definition, it is a group made up of winds and percussion. And this piece calls for two choirs, one of cornets and trombones. Now, these cornets or cornetos are not the modern three-valve piston French-style cornet. No, this is a almost woodwind-like brass instrument with finger holes and a very tiny little mouthpiece, and produces the most sweet sound you can imagine. So cornets, trombones, and then the other choir has trombones and a viola, a string instrument. Actually, musicologically, we think it's probably not a viola. It's actually a violin. This piece is so early, about 1597. That's right, we're in the 1500s. That the terms violin and viola were a little bit interchangeable. So, and by the way, violin just means little viola. But does this piece qualify as a work for wind band? Well, of the 8 players, 7 are wind instruments. I think that makes a strong contention that this is a work for wind band. I mean, if 87.5% of the ensemble are winds, yeah, it's a good chance it's a wind band. This means that the wind band predates the orchestra. Now, why am I talking about the Sonata Pian e Forte? Because it is the first, actually maybe the second, because there's another very unknown piece from a few months earlier, but this is what we would say the first important piece that specifies what instruments are to be used. It is the birth of orchestration, and Gabrielli is writing for wind instruments. Now, were there bands before this? Absolutely. But the difference is the bands before this didn't specify what instruments were to be used. Now, we know kind of what instruments they were using. There were indoor bands, instruments like recorders, and then there were outdoor bands, and those would be instruments like shawms, sackbuts, dulcians. But the composers weren't specifying what instruments were being used. It was Gabrielli who said, we're using these instruments for this specific effect, and thus creating the modern art of orchestration that would go on through the upcoming Baroque era. This is the tail end of the Renaissance, where we start to get the idea that we can specify what instruments are being used. Now, the piece isn't very long, 5-6 minutes, depending on your tempo. It's meant to be played in a large cavernous church. The two groups, the two ensembles, should be placed far from each other to get, of course, the loud and soft effect. They play the same volume, but because of the distances, you'll hear one is soft and one is loud, because one's closer, one's further away. This is also some of the earliest dynamics we have. So it's a huge milestone of a piece. This is a piece that's been worked for many different ensembles over the years. The performance I'm going to link below just uses trombones and cornets. I couldn't find a performance that actually uses the viola or violin in there, but you'll get a really good idea of what it sounds like with the trombones and the cornetos. So this piece is hugely important in wind band history, even though a lot of people don't really consider it as being in the wind ensemble, but it absolutely is. And it's from this piece that all of our repertoire descends. It's kind of like the Adam and Eve of wind band. Have you played it before? Do you know it? Let me know down in the comments what you think. And as always, thanks for watching.